In Australia? In Australia? Errol Spence versus Tim Tszyu in Australia? Ladies and gentlemen, as we all know, this fight been rumored for quite some time, and seemed like it's finalized that Errol Spence is going to be fighting Tim Tszyu this summer. I believe it's going to be July 25 or July 26. I think it's going to be on a Sunday. But the fight's going to be held in Australia. I mean, look, I'm all right with any fighter fighting all over the world, right? This is a world sport at the end of the day. But Errol Spence is a hot commodity. He's one of the highest ticket sellers in America of American fighters. You know what I'm saying? Outside of Canelo Alvarez, if you really think about it. And Canelo is Mexican. So out of the American fighters, you got Gervonta Tank Davis. And I think that Errol Spence is the second one. Yeah, I think he's the second one. Either him or Ryan Garcia. But I believe it's Errol Spence. Now, why would they have this fight in Australia if, you know, Errol Spence is the ticket seller? He's packed a stadium, Dallas Stadium. You know, he had 40,000 versus Ugas. He did great numbers with Daniel Garcia post pandemic. That did what, 2 million the gate. Great numbers with Terrence Bud Crawford in Las Vegas, 21 million. I mean, Tim Tszyu, who of course his name ring bells because of his dad. I'm not gonna say that he's an underachiever or overachiever yet. I didn't think that he was gonna beat any of the elite fighters in the 154-pound division. Even though that I always say that the 154-pound division is the most stacked division in the sport of boxing, and we've seen the vulnerabilities of everybody in the 154-pound division, including the Canelo, the Demetrius Andre, the Jamel Charlos, the Virgil Ortiz with Boachuk, the Terrence Bud Crawford with Majumov. We've seen everybody, you know, show their vulnerability in 154. I just didn't think that I didn't believe in the hype with Tim Tszyu, especially when Iron Man Charlo was the undisputed, and a lot of people thought that that he was the one that's gonna beat Iron Man Charlo. Nah, but stylistically, I think it's gonna be an entertaining fight. I think it levels the playing field because, of course, we haven't seen Errol Spence right back in the ring since his loss to Terrence Bud Crawford. I think it's gonna be it's 3 years already and counting. Tim Tszyu has been active, but he's been also losing and winning, right? So we've seen a lot of vulnerabilities of Tim Tszyu. Stylistically, I think it's gonna be an interesting fight. I think it's gonna be a toe-to-toe type of fight. You know, I'm siding with Errol Spence a little bit, but you know, you never know. You never know how you know. It's one thing when you win and you retire, but when you take a beating like that and then retire, and it didn't seem like, even with Errol Spence was active, that he was in love with the game. But he looks like in incredible shape, though. Incredible shape, grounded, family oriented. But why would they have this fight in Australia? You know, it's kind of odd. You know, I mean, look, we've seen big fights out there in rehab. We've seen big fights in Japan with Stephen Fulton, Naoya Inoue, and Naoya Inoue is going to be fighting Nakatani and stuff like that. So we've seen big fights in the UK. I just would have thought that this fight was going to be, you know, good in America because Errol Spence, a comeback fight. There's a lot of people that is a fan of Errol Spence, and you can make this fight in Texas. You can sell this one in Vegas as well, you know, with a nice co-main or undercard. But it's kind of weird because he got great compared to the fighters today. He has wonderful numbers. But in the end of the day, he's gonna get back in the ring. I want to see how Errol Spence look like. His only blemish in his record was losing to Terrence Bud Crawford, arguably top 10 greatest of all time. So it's not too bad losing to Terrence Bud Crawford, especially after Terrence Bud Crawford beat Canelo Alvarez. So to be honest, the beating that he gave Errol Spence, you know, we always talk about aging well or when age well. I mean, this loss aged well too. You know what I'm saying? The loss is more respectable than anything, right? So I'm siding a little bit with Errol Spence in this fight. But I won't be surprised if Tim Tszyu pulls it off because of inactivity and because stylistically, you know, these guys they're not as defensively sound as they should be. Errol Spence, you know, he keeps his head on the line. He likes to bang. Both Tim Tszyu, and that's why I think it's going to be an interesting and entertaining fight. Will this fight pull the end of an era? We don't know if Jermell Charlo going to be coming back, but as of right now, I think that Errol Spence is probably one of the last ones of the eras. I know he's a little bit younger than the likes of Keith Thurman, and you know, he was a little bit younger than them. It wasn't really his. It was his era, but he was the youngest one of them. Will Tim Tszyu put an end on this era and move forward with the Fonduras, the Virgil Ortiz, the Boots Ennis, and things of that nature? Let me know what y'all think, man. Subscribe to the channel. This is Punch on Boxing, aka Mr. Mo Shot himself. Love you, God bless. And on to the next.